the way you communicate and not just the words you're saying will greatly impact how other people view and treat you. And the reality is, even if your words are perfect, if you're doing these 10 things or any one of these 10 things, you may be sabotaging your confidence, sabotaging your first impressions, and making people view you as weak, unattractive, and low testosterone, and probably won't give you the respect you deserve. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. And I guarantee at least one of these on this list will apply to you. So, watch till the end. So, firstly, is your depth of your voice. So, most guys, including myself for a long time, unintentionally speak at a higher register than their voice is actually meant to speak at. And there are plenty of studies, I'm sure you've probably seen this before, but there are plenty of studies which show that deep voices are not only more attractive to women, but they're also more respect worthy in other men. Like other men view them as more confident and more dominant, which is obviously a good trait. And so what you want to do is you want to find your natural tone of voice. And so what this looked like for me was sort of just doing like a long sigh, just like ah, and just like seeing where the air comes out of your voice. Like at the end of the day, as well, another way I think about it is I'm not like consciously constricting my vocal cords. Like I'm just letting the air come out and letting it make noise, but I'm not like squeezing my voice. It's had a voice crack. And so you want to use this as the baseline and not sounding like a robot. So you don't want to be speaking like, oh yeah, this is my voice all the time. You don't want to push it deeper as well, like oh yeah, like oh yeah, oh yeah. You know what I mean? Like it just comes off as you trying too hard, and it comes off shit. So if you feel like you're forcing it deep, then it's too low. But it should just feel super relaxed and just natural. That's how it wants to feel. And so obviously you don't want to speak monotone, like oh yeah, this is my voice the whole time, and I'm not going to change the pitch. Like don't speak like a robot, but it should always come back down to this like baseline, this lowest level at some point. And moving on from this is voice volume. So voice volume is super important because a deep voice with no volume sounds depressed. Oh yeah, I'm just walking around the station. You know what I mean? Like you need the volume and the tone to be come across as like confident and dominant, right? And so speaking louder as well, it indicates that you're confident in what you're saying and in yourself because you're willing for other people to really hear you and resonate with you. So what I would do personally is speak louder than you think is necessary, louder than everyone else is. Obviously, like the voice depth, don't overdo it. Don't shout at everyone. That should be obvious, but just speak in quite a loud voice where no one will be thinking. Just assume that there shouldn't be any doubts of the words you're saying to anyone that you're talking to. Everyone should hear exactly what you're saying 100%, and it should be loud and confident. Last thing on voice, I think, and it's to kill the upswing. So the upswing is sort of like tone. It's when you at the end of a sentence you like come up. So I'll give you an example. If I say I went to the store and then I went to uni and then I went home. You go, oh, I went to the store and then I went to uni and then I went home. Like you know what I mean? It's like at the end of every sentence, and it honestly it just feels a bit weird and a bit unconfident, and it just a lot of people do it subconsciously. So just make sure it's down. I went to the store, then I went to uni, then I went home. And obviously, if you're asking a question, you can upswing it, like, "Oh, what did you do today?" You have the little up. But if it's not a question, stop making it sound like a question. Next is eye contact, and eye contact's a pretty interesting one because a lot of guys nowadays will be staring at literally anywhere but the person's eyes, the ground, the walls, etc., anywhere but they're supposed to look. And so, similar to the voice depth, there are plenty of studies which show that prolonged eye contact is both attractive to women and more dominant, like perceived as more dominant to other men. And so, it's clearly something you need to work on. And there's pretty much like these two sort of like frameworks you could use. So for other men, you want to be holding eye contact about 70% of the time, unless you're trying to like actually intimidate them, which, if that's your goal, sure, then, really hold it. But otherwise, it just starts to come off as a little bit like you're trying to intimidate them when you're not. And for women, there's like this triangle rule. So basically, the logic is if it's a like a platonic woman or whatever, you'll like look at the two eyes and the forehead and like in like a triangle, and you'll like alternate your vision between these 3 points. And if it's like a romantic interest, then you'll do it like the eyes and the mouth like that. It's a bit autistic. Um, I don't like think about it to a T. But if you're completely lost and if you're in the point where I was when I started this channel, then I would just consciously think about it at least until you fix your eye contact more. So next is posture. Posture is a super big one because slumping over goes along with the eye contact. Like if you're slumping over like that and you're not looking, and also you're looking at the floor, you know what I mean? It just looks terrible. And again, it just screams unconfidence. It's like you're scared of the world, like you're scared of other people's reactions of you. And there are actually studies which were really interesting, which shows that having a Superman posture, so like hands on the hips and like being standing super tall for I think it was 2 minutes or 90 seconds or something, boosted testosterone by 10 or 15%. And so I'd imagine the reverse would also be true. So if you're standing like this and looking at the floor, your testosterone will drop, which is obviously not something you want. And so this low testosterone will then communicate the habits, or it'll influence your communicating habits, such as the eye contact, such as the voice depth, etc., which will then, and also your confidence, your loudness, etc., which will then cause a negative feedback loop because then people perceive you as more weak. You'll get reactions which have you as weak. You'll feel more weak. You'll be more slumped over, etc., etc. So you really want to get on top of your posture and all of the tips on this list. Like, to be honest, these tips are actually part of this bigger system I've been working on. And so it's still like really early stages, but I want to help guys completely fix their social skills over like a few months. And so if you want to know more about it, check the first link in the description, and there's a bunch of details on how you can be a part of that. So the next thing on this list is presence. So presence is pretty much the space that you're filling. At least in my mind, that's what I'm describing it as. So it's related to posture, but I feel like it's important enough that it deserves its own point. Because posture, I'm talking about, straight back, not hunched over, right? Whereas presence, it's more about the space. So, for example, if you're sat down on a couch and you're like this with like your arms crossed, and sorry, just so you can see me, got like your legs like folded like that or something like that, like you look a bit stupid. I mean, just look down a little bit. There we go. Like, oh, don't hurt me, don't hurt me. Oh god, I hope that doesn't. Oh. Anyway, so you can do that, or you can be like, relaxed, arms open, maybe on like the top of the couch or like on the side of the seat, legs wide. Obviously, I don't have anything to rest my hands on because this is a desk chair, but usually there's something to rest your hands on. So you'd be quite like spread open. And obviously you're not like doing that like everything else. You don't want to take it to the extreme. But it just communicates, again, confidence. It also subconsciously makes you look bigger, which is again attractive for women because they want strength and physical competence in a partner. And you get respect in the men because you look larger. Right, it's the same shit, really. I always say this on this channel, but I feel like at least early stage dating and friendships, it's similar in the way you're communicating in a lot of ways. Of course, there's some difference, but there's a lot of similarities. And yeah, it's the same as when you're standing up. Like if you're leaning on something with like your arm wide versus, you're super cuddled up. You get the picture, right? You want to fill up space. Next is proximity. So it's the distance between you and the other person. So you can imagine if I'm like back here, whereas if I'm like all the way here, right? There's a difference. And so if it's a chick that you're interested in, close the gap. Obviously, you're not like within 5 centimeters, depending on how close you are, I guess. But they should be like well within your own arm's reach. Like if you're like 2 arms away, that's not the vibe. Like you should be well within your arm's reach, and that allows you to communicate other things like the eye contact, etc., the physical contact, which is what I'm going to get to after this. And so if you're in your own, if you're too far away from each other, it makes everything else hard. For other guys, if another dude's giving you shit, do the same thing, close the distance. get within arm's reach. But again, this is like an intimidation thing. That's if they're giving you shit. You like get up close to them, you hold them, you stare at them, you know, whatever. But obviously, this is quite confrontational. So only do this with guys that you want that vibe with. Sorry. Next, we have physical contact, which is, like I said, I would talk about this. You may think this is just women, but nah, this is actually works for both. So obviously the nature of what you do is different. So the main difference is with girls, you're going for more soft, and for guys, you're being more like aggressive. Like that's the main difference. And again, that may be aggressive in a fun way or in a confrontational way, depending on the nature of the interaction. But that's like pushing, grabbing around the shoulder, like hitting the arm for attention, you know, obvious stuff like that. And for girls, obviously you're not doing that shit, but similar things, you know, similar areas, you know, the arms, the back, etc. But you're being more intentional. That should be obvious, but again, I feel like it wasn't for me. So we're gonna be very direct and blunt about what you're supposed to do. Next is emotionality. So of course, like slash expressiveness. And there is an important nuance here. Like, obviously, you don't want to be crying all the time, then you just seem like weak and like feminine. But by the same token, if you have zero emotional expression, it also reads as weird and not socially calibrated. But if you're explicitly expressive, so you're really laughing when you think something's funny, rather than like holding back or waiting to see if other people find it funny, or you're getting super loud when you're excited, you know, you're talking super loud and you're really excited about the story, you're talking fast, and then you draw it really back when you're more expressing something slower. It communicates you're unafraid, it communicates you're confident in yourself, and it makes you sound interesting because there's variety. Like, I forget the exact phrasing of this, but there was a study and it showed that what people find the most interesting is variety. They need things to be unpredictable. And so when you're just speaking the same way, with the same tone of voice, it just gets boring. But if you have the variety in how you communicate, and your body language, and your speed, and your tone of voice, etc., volume, it just makes you much more interesting to listen to. And lastly, we're going to talk about directness and authenticity. So this is pretty much saying what you want to say. If you have an opinion, voice it. Don't shy away from other people's reactions. Don't get worried about what other people are going to say. And this goes for anything you wish to say, whether it's starting a conversation, like initiating contact, or like with someone you don't know, or making a joke that you don't know will go down well, or having a controversial opinion. It's pretty much anything. Just don't be afraid to be yourself. Of course, unless you know the person's opinion really, really matters, like if it's a boss or something. But in general, this is a great tool. And so, yeah, use your brain with this. But I would encourage you that unless it's a boss where they actually have meaningful impact on your life, that is really not worth hiding yourself and not voicing that opinion or joke or whatever. And yeah, that's the end of the list. Thanks for watching. If you're a fan of the channel, hit the sub button. I'm not going to do that. I don't feel like a fucking 2013 YouTuber. But yeah, if it was good, I'll see you in the next video. I appreciate you sticking around. And yeah, peace.